Hot Michael Lady She podcast. I'm your girl, Lady She. I'm excited about this series. This is our second series of the She Is My SHERO. And when I tell you this title is fitting for this young lady right here, she just encouraged my spirit so much just in a few seconds ago. Want to introduce to some and present to others Miss Lashawn LaLa Lukes of Freeport, New York, the founder and CEO of Cultivating Lives. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
for
Thank
coming.
you.
So I don't know if LaLa remembers, but this is actually gives homage to how long she's been doing this. So years ago, I ain't aging myself that much, y'all, but it was years ago. Years ago, her and I both would at an event. I'm so mad I can't remember the name of the organization, but this particular organization is also still running. I can't think of the name of it right now, but I was a vendor there and you were a speaker there.
Oh,
And I was blown away. I was totally encouraged. For one, she's a Black woman, and just the things she was pouring into the lives of our young women was so inspiring. So that is another reason why I had you come on. I just want to
thank
thank you for
you.
continuing to do the work, and thank
Oh,
you for accepting my invitation.
thank you. Definitely. When a sister calls, I'm there. Anything that's
Well,
positive, I'm
let's
there
we're
for
gonna
it.
start like that. When a sister calls. So speaking of sisters, cultivating lives. What is that?
Okay, Cultivating Lives is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit
Mhm.
that I created with my partner, Jamie Freeman. This was about 3 years ago. For those who know me, I would say, oh my God, I'm going to tell my age
Oh, she
now.
telling hers. I ain't telling
I'm going to tell my age,
mine.
but for the last at least, I would say 20 to 25 years, I was always into the realm of help and empowerment,
Wow.
even in the entertainment, because I was in the entertainment industry. And that's where it really came from, seeing how women are portrayed, but also how they act.
Right, right, right.
And then from my own life experiences, I said, you know what, we have to pour in when we
Mm-hmm,
can.
mm-hmm,
And that
mm-hmm.
started all of this.
Wow. It's the bars for me. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
All right. So we're definitely gonna come back to that, but tell us a little bit about LaLa Loops. And LaLa is like a childhood name. Where did the name LaLa come from?
Well, I have a middle name. Don't ask me what it is because I'm not going to tell you.
I ain't
But
telling
I
my
had to
sister.
just break it down because if it's a L and a L and a L, you can only
Oh,
imagine.
right.
Exactly.
Got you.
So we dropped off half of my middle name, and everyone always called me La or Lala.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I don't know no LaLa that ain't a baddie. Okay, she's gorgeous, and what is it? What they say? Beauty and brains. Like,
Thank
hello,
you.
LaLas, the LaLas of the world. Thank you very much. All right. So, what was it like growing up in Freeport?
Well, I was born in Freeport, on Colonial Avenue, and I talk about that because it was just Flavor Flav's birthday, so he was literally
Oh,
right
happy
around.
birthday.
Rico was around the corner, so I grew up there. It was a lot of great people
Mm-hmm.
on my block. It was like that hood between hood and culture,
Got you.
So it was a good blend, but we was family and it was a community there. We had the Latin Kings around the corner. We
Mm-hmm.
had the hustlers there. We had those who went to school, but they were all working black, middle class,
Right.
black families.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good mixture for me. But then we moved to Harlem. So as a little girl, lived in the Bronx, in the
Mm-hmm.
South Bronx, and then we moved down the Riverside Drive, which is right off the Hudson, and then we moved up the hill to 143rd. So in my teenage years, we moved back to Long Island because, I lived through in Harlem through the crack
Right.
epidemic,
Right.
the
Right.
heroin
Yeah.
epidemic. It was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you don't realize it's bad, but coming back and forth to Long Island to my grandparents' house in Freeport, I learned like, wow, what kind of life do I want?
Mm.
I learned early.
Yeah. Wow. So I love that you brought up Flavor Flav and being from Freeport because even listening to you saying growing up between the Bronx, Harlem, and Long Island, that mean you saw a lot.
Too
And so
much.
that alone right there will give you like how they call it now, call it woke, so to speak. You know what
Yes,
I'm saying? So
yes.
because you were exposed to so many different things, is that another reason why you decided to do something about, pouring into our women per se?
Yes, and it started with the women. I'm gonna say that because, like you said, years ago, mainly my focus was to the women. But I grew up with drug addiction impacted my home early,
Okay.
so I made a lot of choices. Like I said, I have some family that is good, but some family that's real bad.
Mm-hmm.
I have family that sold drugs, and I
Mm-hmm.
have family that used drugs.
Right, right.
So growing up, I said, okay, do I want to be like this or do I want to be like this? And I made those decisions early.
Right.
It's easy to do the wrong thing. It's
That
easy to
part.
do the wrong
That
thing,
part. That
but to
part.
do the right thing and rise above it, even when our circumstances we can't control what's going
Mm-hmm.
on around us. that's where it came from. It kind of was always there.
Got you, got you. So now, when it comes to, because everything she's saying is very familiar. I'm from Hempstead, and I grew up on Terrace Avenue, so there was drugs, like just
Hmm.
drugs. So how, or was it a certain individual or individuals that impacted you where you were able to decipher to say, I got to go this way, or I'm going to end up like that?
Well, the crazy thing about it, I was more empowered by men.
Mm,
I had my uncles. I have uncles, and this is like I'm not telling all my family stuff, but I
yeah.
don't keep it a secret now. Was that I had some uncles that were very what they would call successful drug dealers,
Okay.
made a lot of money.
Hmm.
So I seen that side. But then also when I lived up on 143rd in Hamilton, and when that crack, heroin, I used to be. Let me just stop right there. I used to be the heroin addicts. I used to be scared of them because
Right.
they'd be nodding and acting crazy. But when crack came, I got to see something different. So now I knew that some of my uncles did whatever they had to do, ran numbers, did this. But now when crack came, you seen it just sweep through the community.
That's a fact.
Just it did something different.
My
The
chest got
dope
tight.
fiends, they were there.
Hmm.
They're still
They're
there.
still there. Yeah, they're
But
still there.
something with crack, when crack came, I guess because it was a little more affordable, it was a new drug. People who transitioned over from cocaine to crack seemed like so
Excuse me.
easily.
Hmm.
You see what happened living on terrace. You see how it
Yeah,
just came through, like death itself.
absolutely.
And it impacted families. And it impacted not only my family, but my friend's family.
Hmm.
And it was like, okay, I didn't feel good, or I didn't feel attached to those who did these things.
Hmm.
And then the crazy part about it, and I was just speaking to one of my uncles, he always used to be like, baby girl, don't you be like that, and don't you do this. And
Yeah.
I had an uncle who was actually a real pimp,
Hmm.
like for real, but he
Hmm.
only had white women. And
Okay.
that was, I guess, it made him feel good about it. I don't know.
I'm not.
I
I
was like
can't.
weird, but he used to always be like, you want to keep your legs closed and your mind open.
Oh well.
And this was what I heard from growing up 4 or 5
Hmm.
years old, because I wasn't allowed to do the things that the boys were doing in the
Hmm.
family as being
Hmm.
the oldest granddaughter.
Oh, you're the oldest
I'm the
granddaughter.
oldest
Wow.
granddaughter. So I was a little more what they thought was sheltered. I would cover my eyes, but always peek, and I would tease them.
Hmm.
And I learned about, dignity and pride from the streets.
Right.
Because sometimes people say, oh, the streets is so bad, but you do learn a lot. You can get nuggets no matter where you are.
That's a fact. That's a
So
fact.
I learned early, like what type of woman I wanted to be,
Hmm.
what I wanted to stand for. And then when my mother's husband, which raised me, when he was addicted, because he was addicted to heroin, but when it got bad, it was real bad.
Yeah.
And so that stopped my desire for ever using. I've never even attempted to use drugs one day in my
Wow.
life, because it just went like from 100 to 0.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't remember how fast we got to 0 as a family, but we did. So coming down to Long Island, I had my other uncle. Now I have my street uncles, but now my uncle had one uncle, my mother had one brother, and he would do it. He's 14 years older than me. My mother had me at 17,
Hmm.
which is gonna be 18 a month after I was born. And I learned a lot from him, like the entertainment side. He used to was one of the founders for the Greek Fest and Freaknik. He
Nice.
was at WNYC,
Hmm.
so like Ralph McDaniels, all these people, they know me since I was a little girl.
Wow.
And he always would try to expose me to something different. So I remember at 12 years old, I was on my first video set, and that was MT Light Paper Thin. And I learned about media and production and
Hmm.
self-expression, and how we can control a narrative by what people see.
That
I
part.
learned that early, because when we did that video, it was filmed. If anybody see it, my uncle was actually in it. Ralph produced it,
Hmm.
but it was in the Train Museum in Manhattan, so it wasn't on a real subway.
Actual subway,
So
right?
people were thinking that when you see these videos and it's here, it's all
It's
staged.
a mirage, right? Right.
So I learned about that part early, and I really liked it. And I did like the little kiddie game shows that used to come on PBS Channel 13. I did all of that despite how I was living, or what I was living around, rather.
Okay.
So I was always exposed, and that's why today I talk about exposing your young children to
Right.
different
Right.
things,
Hmm.
because they have to know what's on the other side of the
Hmm.
fence. You
Got you.
know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So now, growing up, well, early on, you're around all these amazing people who are exposing to all these different things. Even the people that you saw doing the wrong thing was still influencing you to let you know this ain't gonna be your life. So
Right.
what was that like being the oldest granddaughter?
It was, I wanted to play basketball. We used to fight. I used to box, and it used to
Mm-hmm.
be, I wasn't a tomboy because I always had to wear dresses. But, I learned a lot from them. I was very protected,
Mm-hmm.
even today, in that sense, like, don't mess with her. And,
Right.
and this people knew, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just too
Right.
many of them. Let me
Mm-hmm.
just let her go. But I also learned what it was to be a girl, to sit down, you see our legs cross, and have
Mm-hmm.
self respect. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that I remember. And I learned those. It's so funny that my uncles who was in the street talked to me more about what it is to be a woman
Mm-hmm.
and how to conduct yourself and
Mm-hmm.
how men will treat you.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from the street side.
Right.
And the other side said, when you hit the boardroom and
Mm-hmm.
you sitting at that corporate table with men, this is how you also have to
Mm-hmm.
represent yourself.
Love that. Love that. Love that. So now the all right, you said for 25 years, technically you've been involved, you've been doing this. So what was the kickstart of it to say, I gotta do something, I gotta get involved? Was it something traumatic, or you just seeing like there was like a glitch there, like women are not being there for each other, or women have so many problems? A lot of times we always say women don't like each other, or we say women don't get along, and I'm learning that is true on certain aspects and it's not true in others. So kind of give us the time where you said, I have to get involved.
It happened a little bit. Like I was doing small acts of kindness and didn't even realize it.
What's that mean?
In my teens, just encouraging, some of my girlfriends had kids at a young age,
Mm-hmm.
and just what that was like, and just helping or doing and being there or talking to them or empowering them with that conversation.
Okay.
And a lot of people say, "Hey, sis," even till today,
Mm-hmm.
they're like they just being there to listen, but then saying, "You know what? Maybe you should do it this way, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe this didn't work. Here's another perspective."
Mm-hmm.
I learned that, believe it or not, from when you live in a household and drugs is around you, what I would do, I would read a lot of books.
Mm.
I spent a lot
Okay.
of time in my room. So
Right.
what happened was I learned about the world at an early age before
Right.
I was even traveling.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about other perspectives, other way of life, other cultures, living. The great thing about living in Manhattan versus out here, you have the diversity. The diversity is just
Right.
coming out
Right.
here,
Right. Right.
but it was everywhere. You in your building, you go around the corner, you
Mm-hmm.
see this, you'll
The
see that,
stores.
and
Mm-hmm.
you'll just learn about life. So when I had my friends out here, they were a little behind.
Mm-hmm.
They thought I was a little faster,
Mm-hmm.
which I was,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, nah, you gotta do this. They didn't have that hustle mentality
Mm-hmm.
of, you don't have to sleep with the biggest drug dealer, okay?
Hold on.
Which a lot of women did. They would just be attracted.
Mm-hmm.
Their come up out of poverty was having a baby by a
Right. Right.
drug
Right.
dealer.
Right. Right.
And it's other ways, by doing this and understanding, because it didn't work out well for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that maybe he could buy your kid a pair of sneakers for the first year, but then throughout his life, he's either incarcerated,
Right.
dead, or on
Right.
drugs.
Right. Right.
So you did your child a disservice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I seen that already in
Right.
Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't see that out here like
Mm-hmm.
that, because the rise of the drug epidemic was a little slower out
Mm-hmm.
here and a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought that was okay, a okay way of life. Where I'm like, in my mind, and I'm not perfect now, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I can't be with the guy selling drugs on the corner because he going to jail.
That's a fact.
And
Yeah.
one thing about it is, I remember when I went to see my stepfather in penitentiaries upstate, that impacted me. You know, I know how I felt when I went. This man raised me from 2 years old,
Right.
but I also remember more so how I felt when I left.
And how did you feel when you left?
Oh man, that was the most hurtful thing.
Mm-hmm.
All the kids
Knowing
was
he's not coming
crying.
back with you.
Yeah, and then all
Right.
the
Right.
sorrow and the sadness when you're coming back home on the bus, and nobody's happy when they leave.
Yeah.
Everybody goes there excited, but then when you come after that visit, it's a reality.
Right. Right.
And I never wanted to put my kids in that situation. So I would tell women, like, I get he's popular or he's in, or
Mm-hmm.
you guess what, he gonna be a good baby daddy because he can take you to Red Lobsters,
Red Lobster, child.
and
Okay.
literally for a Red Lobsters meal,
Wow.
but you're not thinking about what your life is really gonna look
They're
like.
not
And
seeing
for that child
the
that's gonna
future.
miss the parent from being there.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. So it started off with little acts of kindness, and then where was the point where you said, I need to start my own thing because something's happening. There's something happening here.
So it started back. Now let's just fast forward. Now I have my own place, and I used to have a lot of cookouts at my house, and everybody want to eat, drink, and be merry. But then it used to be, I used to do these things, and it's funny because I do it today,
Okay.
and it's called like a sip and chat. So everybody want to have cocktails and talk, but then I would start to bring up topics.
Okay.
Because growing up, I wasn't allowed to play like spades and stuff. I'm a horrible spades player. Don't ask
She's
me.
like, just throwing that out
This
there
is
for my
some
black card.
listen. I'm not.
Don't ask.
Don't ask me because I wasn't allowed to
Right.
do anything like believe through all this craziness. The streets kept me together.
That is
So
something.
I wasn't able to like play spades. I know how to play Uno now, but we could do some Monopoly. But
She
don't
said, I'm
ask
putting that
me.
drawer 4 in that drawer
Okay,
2.
I can get that Park Place in Boardwalk,
Right.
but don't ask me about playing no dice. I don't spades, forget any of those things because
Wow.
I wasn't allowed to do it. So now when you come to my house, what would happen? We had to, because I don't like talking about people.
Okay.
I never did.
Hello.
So we would pick topics and then we would talk about stuff.
Gotcha.
And that's how the dialogue started to come out about what people think about how they look at life. And now we're sitting around that table and everybody eating your belly full and you're drinking. The truth will start to come out of what people were really going through.
Right.
And that's where it started.
Okay.
And then it would be like, okay. Then later I'd be like, sis,
like wow.
You know, I didn't know this or I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was their reality. And sometimes it'll be contagious when you start being real about yourself, your hurts. It becomes contagious where people now can say, you know what, I felt that, I experienced that. And that started early. That started in my 20s. And then it would be like, okay, you know, it's time to party and do this. And I did all of that partying, Nakasaki's, I'm back out here. And I did
Nakisakis. Ooh,
all of
throwback.
that, you know. And then I also was now, me, myself, a lot of people that now on the other side of it, my uncle who was in media, now I'm little, I grew up now. And so I said, you know, I want to try to do this. And I went into the entertainment industry with the people that see me that, you know, see me as a little girl, and it worked. So now I see what the girls do to be the main girl in the video. We never picked the main girl in the video prior to her coming on set. So it would be the girl who was dressed, unless it's a celebrity.
Okay.
But if it's the girls in it, no, we'll pick them however they show up.
Oh, hello.
And now it would be whoever showed up, whoever had on the least amount of clothes, whoever almost looked the
stood
sleaziest.
out.
And this was before everybody was getting their bodies done and all this stuff. So it was like whoever, you know, and then it went into, guess what? I need a light skinned girl. Okay.
Let's be real.
The brown skin girl could put it, and this was the conversation. The brown skin sisters had to go to the back. The light skin sisters, even if they didn't look that good, they came to the front. But it wasn't even then. It was a competition between the black sisters and the Latino sisters because now they come the full package.
Right.
Straight hair, light colored eyes. And if you remember a point in time where you would see only Latino sisters or Indian,
yeah,
in the front line. So I also realized this was all on part of my journey to understand what we go through as women, because now you see the dark skinned girls over there doing God knows what to be pushed up in the scene. And it was like the light skinned girls like, I ain't doing that. I don't gotta do that because I'm showing up like this. But then it was a thing, it was a conflict between the lighter sisters and the darker sisters. And we're not even talking about the natural hair movement. That was like non-existent
then. Right.
And then that's when I said I looked in a little bit deeper and started just talking to the sisters more, because I seen them on set using drugs, having sex with guys, doing this, doing anything to be in a video. And keep in mind, they don't get paid for this.
Right.
So that's when a little more I said, you know, I got to pour into these sisters. I got to pour into the sisters. Now, as I'm getting older, I'm like the mom.
Right.
They coming to me like, you know, talking.
What you think? And
because we sometimes book the same girls, and I'd be like, sis,
that ain't it.
You can't do that, regardless what they say.
Right.
But for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And just want to, you know, just to tap in, and I'm gonna move on from this question, but these things are still going on. You know, we're still battling with the colorism thing. We're still having conversations and people going on social media saying their comments, and you don't get it because you've always had that face. And I've even said things like that on the platform. I'm like, I've always had this face. So I've always had to deal with certain issues from women because I can't control this. I could be the smartest, have all degrees in the room, and you still judge me because I look like this. So we have to do something. There has to be some type of common ground, or we need to, let me say, work towards, first of all, hearing each other.
Yes.
Because even though they're coming to LaLa saying, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm going through, they're sharing that with LaLa. They may not be sharing that with the girls who they're looking at as the enemy, when they're not your actual enemy. The ones who are making you come against each other technically are. If that makes any sense.
I dealt with that, because one thing living in Harlem, you grow up with the Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans and I don't remember El Salvadorians, but I remember in my area it was more Dominican and Puerto Rican. So they were able to accept me because some of them were, and even from Cuba, they were my complexion and some is darker because they dealt with discrimination within their own
culture, right?
So
Absolutely.
I was able to learn diversity as well easily because the Latino community accepted me sometimes before my own. And then growing up, the light skinned girl with long hair and this and that, and people would look at that, and girls would not understand that. And then when I came out here, I was the girl, but then guess what? My fashion was different. I talked different. It was like hard, like who is she? Where she come from? I dealt with a lot of that when coming out here to Long Island because everybody was so stuck in their clique, and then I was very different. So I didn't form into a clique like that. It's either like my way or no way in my mind. But it was those issues of even how women got along with themselves.
Right. Absolutely.
I feel like a pretty girl doesn't have to say, "Look at me, I'm pretty," because somebody will see that. But it's the prettiness really is what's inside
Right.
and defined, and a lot of times people get it mixed up.
Okay. So when did you start? When did you start this organization?
Well, what happened was for years I did the women's empowerment. That's what you see for years. And what I realized is that when I was helping the women, excuse me, I would have to help the whole family because it
Wow.
created domestic violence. It created a separation because if you elevate one person and don't elevate the family as a whole, they're gonna divide them because growth is this way
Right.
while they're here. So, I noticed a common denominator. And then during COVID, so for years I did Bag Lady the photo experience, and I showed how women transition out of different states of abuse through photos. And I do it in big art galleries, but most of my work is in the city
Okay.
versus out in Long Island because I'm going to be honest, I have struggles out here in Long Island, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Like still
Absolutely.
till today,
Yeah.
it's still I deal with these certain situations out here. And great, I would work with women with HIV positive, domestic violence, mental health, single parenting. I worked with a porn star who had multiple personalities, and I learned so much from all of the beings that was in her because I didn't know who I was dealing with.
Right.
And I remember the day I had to do her photos for the exhibit, and then she also had herpes. So she had a big, I guess, anxiety and a nervousness, and she came up from Baltimore. But when she told me her true story of how she contracted herpes from her mother's boyfriend who molested her, okay, and then the person that you would see, the porn star, is not the person I necessarily was talking to
So it would
because
be like
the
how
separation.
Beyonce Sasha type situation. Like she's a whole other
Exactly.
person.
Exactly. And because she had to save herself by creating avatars, by creating her own
Her own
protector
personality.
within herself. And listen, I'm no psych major. I don't know any of this, but I believe in God,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have to say that. And even this morning, we get to that. I always say to God, like, God, okay, you chose me for this assignment, but I need you right now.
Yeah, that part.
I need you right now because when you're dealing with this type of situation, a woman molested by her mother's boyfriend catches herpes. Now she's on set. My makeup artist didn't know what to do with an outbreak. Then it
Yeah.
made me learn something too about when we go to those makeup tables and they want to use those sponges,
Yeah.
and
Make sure the stuff is
you better
clean.
have your own.
Yes. That
because we
part.
don't think about that, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, we got to use universal precautions for real
Mm-hmm.
without degrading her, with still maintaining her integrity.
Okay, right.
And I learned a lot from that experience,
Wow.
at that moment. And she came up, and it was good. It was
Mhm.
it was a good day. I realized I work with hundreds of women intimately,
Right.
and I respect their vulnerability. I respect women who are vulnerable,
Right.
women to say and admit, you know what, I could have did this better,
Yeah.
or I could have, you know, be nicer. Because a lot of women, they're not nice. It is some nice,
Mm.
but
Oh,
they be something I call nasty nice.
nasty nice. Yes.
That
That is
nasty
a thing.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to ever be like that to people. And I said, you know what? During COVID, I said, we as a deeper need, as I'm soul searching with myself, and I'm speaking to God and all these things. And I said, I said to my partner, I said, I want to help the whole family. And that's when we created Cultivating Lives.
Love that.
And that's what it was about, keeping our families together,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
about growing organically, about transparency,
Mm-hmm.
so we can get to the root of the issue, so we can create the cure. And that's when I started, and that was in 2020.
I love that. I love that. That was awesome. So, do you feel that even with your story with growing up and everything, that God has kind of always put you in places for you to use your gifts? Because it's a gift to be able to speak to people. Because people feel, I had someone say to me in church one day, like, I know you don't have titles in that nature, but people see something in you that makes them comfortable to speak to you and not speak to anyone else. And I didn't know that. So people
Oh,
are
nice.
watching. So that's a gift when people are able to feel comfortable, they feel a safe space connected to you.
Okay.
So do you feel like God has always opened up doors for you to naturally kind of be in spaces where people speak to you?
I feel personally things that I went through in my life, hurt, disappointment, just abuse.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was all for a reason. But I just realized that a couple of years ago, because
Wow.
I used to be like, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why, good and the bad? And I
Yeah.
realized that um, I learned from every lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I've ever been through my life, I deal with it today
Mm-hmm.
through other people.
Right.
So I don't counsel them. I'm not a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a this. I don't need to be.
Well,
Because when God is your teacher, you don't need any degree
that one. Mm-hmm.
right there. I tell them all the time, I see people with a whole bunch of alphabets after their name. Okay? But it doesn't
Hello.
mean anything.
That's a
I had to say
fact.
that today. I'm
Yes.
not taking from anyone obtaining education.
Mm-hmm.
Educate, that doesn't make you rich in your spirit and your soul.
Yes.
And
Thank you for saying that.
that is
Mm-hmm.
what I learned.
Yeah.
I feel God has been with me so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel Him,
Yeah.
and He talks to me. And anyone's mind say He talks to me in my. I wake up with these ideas and concepts
Mm-hmm.
and just things, and He'll tell me sometimes, and I learned to listen to Him,
Right.
because He could take somebody away. We pull them back like, why this person? I will not chase anyone. When somebody
Hello.
leave, is bon
She's talking to
voyage.
someone. Okay.
Bon voyage,
Right. Right. Right.
because sometimes God is saying no, and then we keep the person there.
Mm-hmm.
Or God shows us a sign, and then people see it in relationships, men and women. I deal with men and women now.
Okay.
So I hear from, and I say to my brothers, like, you thought you were going to change her? Did you
Okay.
think you had the ability to do something God didn't even do yet?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh.
How?
The
How
bars.
how are you going to do that?
Mm.
And it never ends up good,
Mm-hmm.
because that individual, we can't change each other.
Right. Right.
They have to be open
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
change, and then people like ourselves
Mm-hmm.
are the vessels
Right.
to bring you through. But if you're not there, I love talking to my brothers just as much as I love talking to my sisters, because they need guidance. They didn't have the
Yes.
proper upbringing with their mothers,
Yes. Yes. That
and
part.
they don't understand women. And then if their mother was there, maybe their mom was in the streets, so their
Mm-hmm.
mom was bringing different men in and out, and they didn't get the nurturing that they need. And I see that now. I
Mm-hmm.
see it in men, I see it in women.
Right.
And I work with children, working with the whole family, with cultivating lives. It's like so. I don't know what every day is going to bring.
Right.
I don't know what somebody's going to text me.
Mhm.
I don't know what they're going to say. And I have to pray. It
Yeah.
also built my relationship with God because I'm like, God, like, how am I going to do this?
Right. Right.
Or how, I have people who help, but still it's a connection where they want to only deal with me.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that part is
I was
what
gonna
I'm
ask
working,
that.
what I'm,
Okay.
what I'm working on. Excuse me.
So now, like, I understand the hard part. You understanding that even the good and the bad was all connected to your purpose and what you are doing today with cultivating lives. But are you ever at a place, and you kind of tapped into it, but I would really like to know the details. Are you ever at a place where you're like, you know what, this is beyond my capability for me to be there for this family? Like, I know I need to be this for this family. I also have to bring in some professionals or
All the
some people with
time.
those alphabets behind. And when that happens, how do you connect the dots?
Okay, very good question because today I woke this morning to a photo of a little girl who cut herself. Now, when we deal with cutting, we know that's a result
Mm-hmm.
of something.
Yes.
Okay, so now
Trauma.
I'm there to now talk to the parent in this particular situation because sometimes the parents are not open to getting
Right.
the help,
Right.
but now the parent, someone referred the parent to me.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my people that come to me are referrals.
Excuse me. Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens is I do have people that I choose, I select, I take my time to understand them
Mm-hmm.
to say, can they handle this situation? I don't care about it being a black woman, a black man, a Latin. I get the best person
Yes.
for that situation
Mm-hmm.
because, and most of the people, I'm being honest, are not necessarily in my local community either. Because people, what I also realize with our people, they don't want somebody to counsel them that they're gonna see in the supermarket.
Right. 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 Okay.
They don't want
Okay.
the
Thanks for saying
local.
that.
They don't
Okay.
want that local
Ooh.
person to help them in that capacity if it's abuse and this because sometimes our people talk too much.
That. Mm-hmm.
They talk too much. So I normally pull in people like I have a situation. I pull in people from out east, especially from the city.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
pull my people in from the city, and actually, what I'm building right now is a different type of network. And I have people that's willing to come from the city, travel, and come out here and service
Mm-hmm.
in the Nassau community
Okay.
because but a lot of my work was in the city. It's abroad wherever we're needed out of state, but people it's a need that's going on in Hempstead
Yes.
that is bothering me,
Right.
and it's so funny because I'm a crier. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody knows I'll cry because that's me asking God like
Yeah.
I gotta let it out
Mm-hmm.
some kind
How
of
do I
way,
do this? Mm-hmm.
and I comes in my tears, and I have to sit still.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to think because we pray, right? But then we
Mm-hmm.
got to wait for God to talk back to us.
That's the one. That's the
And
one.
that part, I have to sit still because people just praying, praying, praying. But you busy over here. You don't
Mm-hmm. You
hear
don't hear.
the
Come on,
solution.
LaLa. Tell them.
So I, what I do is I do get the professionals. I consult with God first,
Right. Right.
and I talk to Him first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I say, okay, God, like I said this morning, you gave me this for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this mother could have called 100 other people,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? They dealing in the school, the therapist in the school, but they were not successful.
Right.
When I see a little girl abuse, cutting herself, abusing herself. So now it's my job once it comes in front of me to create a solution
Right.
for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's going to take therapists, it's going to take professionals, but that are successful,
Right. Right.
successful in their theory.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Thank you for sharing that. Because I come to realize that, and please tap into this. Unfortunately, what I've learned, and I've been in Long Island my whole life, so I can't speak on the city, Queens, none of that. But what I learned about people in Long Island that are in these kind of avenues, instead of actually getting individuals and families a proper necess the things that they actually need, it's a no, but I want to be the one to say that I helped. And you're doing a disservice to the family because they're not getting the actual proper things that they need or being in contact with the proper channels because you want to be the one to say, I'm the one that saved this family, or I'm the one that she stopped cutting herself because I got involved. When no, this, if you know this is not your lane, give it to the proper people who professionally and or spiritually, they can tap into that. You're still involved because you connected the dots, but it don't have to be a me thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Listen, I you are in my account. You must have bugged my room today
I
because
didn't.
because these are the conversations that we were having because a lot of people, like it's a lot of awards that's going around
Mhm,
for Women's
mhm.
Month, right?
Yes, I've been seeing that. Right, right.
So a couple of you say, well, why didn't you get any awards? I said, I don't know, because maybe nobody nominated. But
Okay.
okay, and
Let's
they're
call a
like,
spade a spade.
okay, I said because they're in that circle,
Right.
they're in that clique,
Mhm.
and I never belonged in a clique,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
circles go around,
Around.
I go straight. So I
Okay.
said, you know, but when people come to me and they feel comfortability, they feel I'm doing the work. And I said, I'm about to start a campaign. And I was saying this morning to my dad, like, I'm gonna do, but we doing the work, and
Okay.
that's just the campaign.
Period.
And I'm working on a project with someone. We're putting it together for unsung heroes out here,
Oh, unsung heroes, yes.
and it's gonna be some stuff. It's gonna be some people
Let's
ain't gonna like
go.
it, some people,
They will
but
be
but
fine.
they gonna okay.
They will be
And the
fine.
whole thing about that is about the other individuals like myself, like you create platforms have it starts with dialogue.
Absolutely.
The power in dialogue and
Hmm.
opening up. But nobody recognizes maybe we don't get these awards. I've been doing media. When I was in the city, I got a whole bunch of awards.
Hmm.
Out here it's different.
It's different.
It's
It's
different. They be
different.
like, girl, you down south. When I tell them to say you down, they be trying to tease me, like, girl, you living down south. But we have to celebrate those
Yes,
that are doing the work.
absolutely.
And what you find is that people like to be like, I'm the queen of this and
Hmm.
I'm the queen of that
Hmm.
and I did this and I did that.
Hmm.
But it doesn't relate to even a check.
Yes.
It doesn't relate to lives saved, the
Hmm.
soul
Hmm.
saved.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
when they do it for themselves. It's a
Right.
lot of that. That's the problem in Hempstead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a me, me, me. And I'll be like, well, I feel like this. Our organization has been in the Hempstead location since 2020, which was like the middle of COVID.
Hmm.
I would say the last year is when people were able to come in and really, and I have created more traction, have more relationships, more connections to the community than some people have been here their whole lives.
Wow. Well,
And without, blowing the horn, look at me, but just doing the work.
yeah.
And now what's happening is people are now organically coming,
Hmm. Hmm.
organically seeing
Right.
that this is, what what's going on at Cultivating Lives. This is who Lashawn Luke's is. And then people are saying, I deal with it. Why is she at this room? Why am I not here?
Hmm.
Why
Hmm.
is she there? Maybe because I was doing the work.
Right. Actually, no, actually doing the work.
No,
Because
yes.
what I've come to realize, and I might just ask this question when I finish this comment. People will fake it till they make it. And what I've been seeing in this, I'm glad you said what you said, in this specific month, Women's History Month, one of the things I noticed that, and even being in other organizations that I was a part of and no longer a part of, I wanted to do the work. And I realized there was no work being done.
Oh, please.
This
They're going to
was
say, girl, you
because
want to do the work.
anybody can throw an award ceremony. Like
Okay.
literally anyone. Like I can literally say
Mm-hmm.
today, I want to give some people some awards. They ain't gotta do
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I can just say everybody wear this color, or I'll say that
Mm-hmm.
you nominated this person. I've
Yes.
seen it where I'm like, but that person ain't even what? Like if I'm doing something in reference to officers or something, and you nominate somebody that's not even an officer, how does that even make sense? You want your friend to have recognition. It don't have nothing to do with the work that they're doing, nothing.
You seen
So
that? Oh,
we got to do
listen,
better.
way
We have to
better.
do better. We have to do better because the messages are being lost. Excuse me, not the message. The work is being lost. The message is there because you can
Mm-hmm.
put that sign up, we are women empowerment, but who are you empowering?
And
The
and
work has to show itself.
and let me tell you, and that's what comes into the topic of how we as women deal with each other,
Yeah.
and what do they congratulate. And I was somewhere, and I'm not gonna say
Okay.
who
No,
the
don't.
organization is, but they were like, they sat down, we did an interview, I had to send them my bios. And they said, oh, wow, this is extensive. They would have never known any of these things
Mm-hmm.
about me.
Mm-hmm.
But then the one thing that they picked out of everything, I like the water. I like the water. We have a boat. And that was what they picked to highlight. I'm like, wait, everything I said. You picked
Like
that
people
out?
contacted me for cutting themselves, and that's what you
Nigga,
got?
and I'm like,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah.
Because you know what they fear, and I say this all the time, is like they fear us as black, not only to be educated, to be strong, to be good parents,
Mm-hmm.
to be good friends, to be good sisters, to be good neighbors. They don't want that.
Right.
And then we fall into it by not
Mm-hmm.
being this
Mm-hmm.
kind person.
Mm-hmm.
And they, you know, I do a lot of women, and they're jealous of me.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, okay, sis, all right.
What
And
did
then
I
I'll
just
be like, okay,
say?
we get it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of that out here
Mm-hmm.
because people buy in to
Right.
these
Right.
concepts.
Right.
And I don't just fault that person.
Mm-hmm.
I fault all the people that buy into
Yes,
this
absolutely.
concept
Thank you for saying
of
that.
of guess what? I'm the best female. I'm this, I'm that. But then all the people that go along with it
Yeah.
and toot that horn and make that bigger and bigger and
Mm-hmm.
bigger concept in their minds.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about that. What I feel as a black woman doing this, people always cream always rise to the top.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
was good.
and it's you're gonna always find peace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in situations. Not too many things that I do are unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the things, if I want to have 20 people here, because sometimes I like intimate things,
Mm-hmm.
20 people show up. We just had a women's empowerment vision board on Saturday, and I wanted 10 women. 13
Mm-hmm.
came for a reason because I had to work with them different. I had to look at their
Right.
boards, and I wanted to talk to them about it one on one.
Mm-hmm.
And they was like, Miss Lukes, what does this mean to you? These
Mm-hmm.
grown women.
Right.
I had from all the way from 13 to 70.
Love that. Love that.
And not just from Hempstead. And guess what? People will come to Hempstead if
Mm-hmm.
it's something to come to Hempstead for.
That part.
Because they came all the way from
Mm-hmm.
out east,
Mm-hmm.
Riverhead, from Harlem,
Mm-hmm.
Queens. I think we had every borough in our space in
Right.
Hempstead. So imagine if we all got together and made Hempstead a better Hempstead. They would
Mm-hmm.
come to Hempstead
Mm-hmm.
more.
Mm-hmm.
Because they
Mm-hmm.
come to me
Mm-hmm.
from the train or the
Right.
car and keep on and go right back.
Mm-hmm.
But all these organizations, all these sisters, the sisters or whatever they want to call themselves, if you were doing the work, listen, we could share the people.
How about that part? We can
But
share.
but people are not doing it out
Yeah.
here. And I struggle with that,
Mm-hmm.
being out here.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm gonna have a transparent moment real quick. I've struggled with that, and I'm from here.
Oh yeah.
It's like you can see what I'm doing. People will try to purposefully make you feel like they don't see you.
Oh
Like
girl, they be like, are
I
you
had
there?
someone on a podcast that had an amazing story, and their best friend acted like they didn't know I had a podcast. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, you didn't got it, and you
Mm-hmm.
just got to keep doing the work.
Oh yeah.
So you just have to keep
Because they
doing
see,
the
and
work.
like yourself, just keep going, listen, they watching even when they act like they're not
Oh yeah,
looking.
no, that's a fact.
And you got to keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something out here because I did radio for 10 years. I
Mm-hmm.
did it very good at different stations. And then they was offering me to do this particular station. I was in Penn Station, but they wanted me to do it for free. They wanted the FM dial. You had some people say, oh, I'm going to do it. They went and did. I said, I ain't doing it for
I
free.
know that's a fact. You better know
No,
your worth.
no
What?
way. I'm not doing it. And I look now at the people who did it for free. They nurses aides and doing this and
Mm-hmm.
doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I want to pour and say, sis, know your worth.
Right.
But no, understand your worth. Don't talk about your worth. Understand
Come
your
on,
worth.
understand it.
And then that's how you empower others. People don't want to, every woman is not designed to empower another woman too.
Let's say that part.
Just because you're a mother
Mm-hmm.
don't mean that you're nurturing. And that's what where we get in. It's not everybody's job.
Right.
And I had to learn that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why is she? Because it's not her job
Right,
to
right,
do
right.
that. It's not what she's supposed to do. And I had to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so I could keep on my journey.
Right. Right.
And
Love
that
that.
was
Love
a
that.
part there.
So now when it comes to the politics out this way, what's that about?
You might be able to tell me that better than better than I can. Because
Woo, Hempstead.
I don't, let me think before I speak. I don't,
Take your
it
time.
goes back into this self-serving
Mm-hmm.
mentality. And I teach, because I teach a financial literacy class bi-weekly on Thursdays. It's an 8-part series.
Nice.
And it's free.
Okay.
I do it twice a year. But I said, do y'all know what makes up a community? And they like, no, a church, a post office, a hospital. And I gave all the components.
Mhm.
So this is what a community looks like.
Right.
But people don't understand that. The mayor, these are
Mhm.
all the political
Right.
house.
Right.
This is all what makes up a community. Every community is going to have, no matter where you go in the
Right.
United States,
Mhm.
it's going to have a certain thing. And if it doesn't have it in the town, it's going to have one close.
Close by. Right. Okay.
So, like in Freeport, we don't have a hospital in Freeport. We have doctors, though.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
then we'll go to Oceanside is the next. But if we don't understand what community is, right,
Mhm.
and what makes a community, how can we build and how can we grow a community?
That's good.
And that's what's happening out here.
Okay.
And that's what up because once again we back to what self-serving.
Mhm.
And see, that's I don't want to get too. And I tell people you gotta serve the Lord because when you serve
Hello.
the Lord, that's who you should be serving first.
Right.
You don't have all these other problems because you understand the direction that you're supposed to
Mhm.
be going.
Okay. All right. So understanding that there clearly is a glitch with people even knowing what a community is, because that's an issue. Like, how are you going to help with something that you don't know what it is? That's like
Yes.
you going into a boxing ring and don't know nothing about the component, the opponent. Like, how's that going to work?
Mhm.
You're going to lose, or you're going to be fighting for your life. So,
Mhm.
where do you fit in, or do you even fit in? Is it a thing where you understand, for me to flourish, and I'm putting quotation on that because that's in the eyes of the beholder what flourishing is. Just like
Yes.
success is in the eyes of the beholder.
I
Because for
always
some
say
people
that.
think it's success, I do not.
Yeah.
But for you to flourish or be successful in where you are, how do you? First of all, let me say this: for some places, they don't want change. They just don't. And with you having knowledge of that, where does that leave you?
Well, some places do want. Most people do want change, but it's about what's the agenda.
Mm.
Because everybody wants change, even if that change is to be more beneficial to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody wants change, but now, what does the agenda look like? That's where it becomes different.
Okay. All right. I'll take that answer. I'll take that answer. So you said you're based in Hempstead. I love that you shared that people will come here because they've come to
Hmm.
you. What We're doing this together right now, right? I don't know you personally. You don't know me personally, but we understand that we both want something positive to come out of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
How do we get other people on board to understand, okay, you can have an organization that's doing this, I can have an organization doing that. It don't got to be a thing of I'm stepping on your toes or you stepping on my toes. We should have a common goal. What do we do with that?
Okay, so what's happening now out here is people are organically coming to me
Okay.
that do something different than I do. I notice a lot of people don't do financial literacy out here,
Okay.
and because they don't understand what it is.
Okay.
So when we teach something, we have to live it.
Hmm. I feel like more of the guys out here are doing financial literacy. I feel like some of the females I've seen doing it have financial problems. So I
Well,
don't know why they're doing financial
I
literacy. I'm gonna keep
listen.
it a
I'm
buck.
glad you said
I'm gonna
that,
keep it a
not
buck
me.
because literally a few days ago I had to block somebody because I'm like, you just lost your business. How are you teaching this? Stop playing with me and stop playing with other
Let's.
people's lives. It's not okay.
You got to get like
So
a bell in
I
here, or something, so
blocked.
I could bring the bell when
I
you're
do
talking.
block parties. Let me just throw that out. If it ain't okay with me, because I don't want to hurt people. So if
Hmm.
you cannot reach out to me and say I'm going to come on and talk about this when you're not living that, that is not okay. We got to stop hurting each other. That's the first thing. That's the one change we got to start doing first. Stop having an agenda that we know will hurt people.
Hmm.
Finances is a serious thing. We live on
Oh
one of the most
yes,
expensive places on the planet. You
yes.
should not be playing with nobody's finances. Okay. So what I've noticed, I've noticed a lot of more, just in reference to the people I'm connected to, more males are doing like the financial stuff.
Well, the successful educators of finance are men.
Okay.
In general,
Okay.
out here, I don't really find too many people who teach financial. Maybe I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But how can I? I don't know too many women
Okay.
let me think, who's out here know that teaches financial literacy,
Mhm.
no. Because one thing is I find out here, and I hate to say it, in Hempstead or in the surrounding, it's a lot of poverty.
Right, right, right.
So,
Absolutely.
and people have a poverty mindset,
Mhm.
meaning that they want to live in their grandmama's house,
Mhm.
but buy a new car,
Mhm.
and then grandma lose the house,
Mhm.
or they want to have Section 8,
Yep.
and they don't want to
Forever.
progress forever, and they want to, and I'm against passing Section 8 down to your children.
Listen, it's different out here. Help us.
And it's a
Help
lot
us,
of,
LaLa.
listen,
Woo! It's a lot.
it's a lot of that, and they keep giving it to us and giving it to us so we can sit down and don't have a voice in our communities. We got to be obedient
Mhm.
when people give us something.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. All right, I'm gonna give you Section 8 because I know, keep having kids,
Mm.
you're never gonna own nothing. You're
Mm.
never gonna get a good job.
Mm.
You have to pay more rent.
Mhm.
And then when I'm getting ready to get rid of you, I could
Mhm.
put you over there with your Section 8.
Absolutely. Oh no,
And
and don't try to get a supervisory job because you're gonna lose it. So then you don't even take the
that's
supervisory
that's why I
job,
said
which
you're
will give
not
you more
gonna make.
money.
Oh
Yeah,
please,
go ahead, LaLa. I'm sorry.
they're not
I had a
gonna
moment.
listen.
It's so bad. It's not okay.
It's what it is.
Mhm.
And then their come up is taking their baby daddy to court for child
Mhm.
support.
Mhm.
That's a come up,
Yep.
and I hear it all the time.
Phew.
You know. So what happens? You stay there, and you have children that's dependent on the system. You don't have a father in the home. You want to take him to child support.
Mhm.
You want to do this. You see the cycle of what happens, and not just here
No,
in these
that's a fact.
lower income communities.
Absolutely.
And when you have poverty, it breeds problems,
Right.
drugs, uses, selling, gangs, this, that, and that's where you're gonna see that at.
Gotcha.
And they're okay with keeping it there. And all right, we know they're over here doing it, so let's just keep them there and
Mhm.
don't let it spill out. And that's
Mhm.
what you see that's happening.
Phew. It's a lot.
Oh yeah.
We could be here forever, but we're not. Um, cultivating lives. You literally taking families and deal with the actual root and the actual issues that implode in families. Um, have you ever had issues with men trying to downplay what you do?
I'm gonna say out here, no.
Okay.
Only because because my fiance, they don't, they have to deal with him
Okay.
because I don't argue with men.
Um,
So let me just leave that right there. I don't really.
ladies, did you just hear that part? I don't argue with men.
No.
Carry on.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just. It's just not what we're supposed
Mm-hmm.
to do. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to deal with him. So they don't. Men don't really
Mm-hmm.
rub me the wrong way. They may have an issue with me from a distance. But another thing is I'm not that accessible, though I'm in the community.
That part.
So they see my work, but they can't just come sit in my
Mm-hmm.
space
Mm-hmm.
and breathe my ear with their craziness.
Mm.
They can't. That doesn't happen. So at the same
Love that.
time, I deal with that. I deal with like you, they'll act like we're invisible
Mm-hmm.
before they
Mm-hmm.
address.
Mm-hmm.
They see what you're doing, they won't click like, they
Mm-hmm.
won't comment, they won't
Mm-hmm.
engage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about that.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they'll be back around.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I always tell people, the proof of concept is success.
That part.
And what is success? Being able to help more families,
Mm-hmm.
protect them with children,
Mm-hmm.
teaching people how to make more money,
Mm-hmm.
getting them off of Section 8, getting them out of domestic violence
Right. Right.
relationships,
Right.
and my brothers too that
Mm-hmm.
are in domestic violence relationships,
Yes. Thank you for saying that.
you
Thank you for
know,
saying that.
and that's my success. And like Saturday, so I had the event, and then a couple of people wanted to say something, but just saying thank you. You don't know what sometimes people feel about you.
Absolutely.
They come and have respect, and then they was like, just thank you for believing, thank you for these things.
Excuse me. Sorry. Love that. Love that.
Mhm.
So now, if it's something where, let me ask you about this funding. How does that go?
So now most of our money has been received through private donations of what we raise ourselves.
Okay.
You know, I applied for some grants because, as you know, with a nonprofit, you got to do the work a certain amount
Absolutely.
of time to actually receive the funding.
Mm-hmm.
So, though I did my other work me myself, but under the nonprofit members was formulated in 2020.
Okay.
So I applied, but you see, when you take money, and this is the funny thing about it, when you take money from the government to do all these things,
Mm-hmm.
you got to have checks and balances at the end. They may tell you to help these people, don't help these people, do it this way, not that
Mm-hmm.
way. And then you have to be what? Obedient,
Yeah.
because they giving you that money.
They're in control.
So I did some, I said, okay, we do self funding, we raise money, or sometimes I charge for things and it's
Okay.
put a very minimum
Right.
in that way. I'm working now. I just sent off some of my workbooks and some of my training.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for the copyright to come back,
All
and then
right.
I'll be
Let's
just
go.
selling. Yeah, I'll be
That's
selling
awesome.
my training and my workbooks. So it should be back soon because they move pretty fast.
Okay.
Making sure, because I had people steal my intellectual property, all that stuff. So, and I
Oh
should have
wow.
known better because I'm the queen of telling somebody take care of your stuff. But
Woo!
it happened, but now I'm just taking my time. So at least by Mother's Day, I want to have
Oh,
everything released.
quickly.
Yes,
That's
because
awesome.
I write everything I teach and I train, I write it down
Right.
anyway.
Right. Right.
So now it's just putting it together and
That's
then
awesome.
saying, here, this is how
Okay.
you do a DIY,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to do more DIYs.
Okay.
Do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I teach in my class is that this is how you fix your credit. Don't hand me your credit and I
Mm-hmm.
hand it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
You give me
Mm-hmm.
your screwed up life and I say,
Mm-hmm.
here's all straighten out.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Thank you for saying that.
you're gonna do the work, and
That's
so that
dope.
way when it happens again, you know how to fix it. When it's happening, you can stop it.
Hmm. That was good because
Mhm.
I think that when you first of all, sometimes you have to show people themselves because
Mhm.
people don't always recognize their behavior because it's their behavior or it's connected to their environment.
Right.
So you showing them like, listen, okay, you got to stop going to Walmart or you're gonna have to stop doing A, B, and C for a little while so you can pay for this and pay
We
this and
do
do that
our
and do that.
DTIs first. So with any training, it starts with your debt to income ratio,
Okay.
so I can understand the individual spending habit
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and see where we can fix it. I'm gonna be honest with you, the majority of people in Hempstead are in a deficit.
Right.
So they don't even have enough money for their basic needs.
Ooh,
So
she
now
talking right.
when we start there, it
Mm-hmm.
may be, listen, we need affirmative action because you got
Right.
to get another
Right,
job.
right, 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 right. That's real. Hello. But it takes for you to understand and people to have a safe space with you to even let you see that.
Correct.
I think that's one of the things that there's a glitch also. People live in shame and they live in guilt. So instead of actually getting the help they need, they just sit or they just
Because,
continue to post on social media like they're okay and they're not okay.
because they have to feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things I did is I listen.
Mm-hmm.
I listen. I put that up on my social media every day. You got to listen
Hello.
because I heard the needs of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. They want to see more black women to say it's okay to cry. It's all right to say this without saying I'm not shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
I'm the
this.
one.
I'm this the savior,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but you have no disciples.
Yeah. Oh,
You understand what I mean?
well, hello.
There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I have very loyal people
Mm-hmm.
because I love them first.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it's okay. They start crying, I'll be crying. I probably be crying about their stuff before they
Right,
crying.
right, right.
And I said, okay, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna let you know now. But they feel safe
Yeah, yeah.
to tell me I'm going through this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm safe. I'm in a domestic violence
Mm-hmm.
relationship. I'm safe. I'm having a mental health crisis. But
Mm-hmm.
they gotta say I'm safe
Right, right,
first.
right.
Then everything else comes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sitting there like I'm the therapist, lay down on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
And then I'm also telling about when they're wrong.
Hello.
Accountability.
Yes.
Listen, you
That
can't
A
be doing
word is like a
that.
curse word nowadays. Accountability.
I
Woo.
talk I talk about that
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And accepting, guess what? This is where you made your mistake. Okay, but this could be corrected. Some
Right,
mistakes can't be corrected.
right.
And people have to understand that part. Like who we have kids with, right? We
Mm-hmm.
can't go back to hands of
Right,
time. That's what it
right.
is.
That's what it is.
If you were incarcerated, you can't
Mm-hmm.
erase that.
Right.
If you was on a substance, you can't erase that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
But now how do we grow from that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want repeat offenders of BS.
Come on now.
And that's what I call it.
Right.
I said to one woman, well, I got my baby daddy, this, and that, and the third. So you got 4 bad baby daddies. Is it them?
Yeah.
And I have to, and I take up, and I stand up for my brothers a lot too, because listen, this is who you had an attraction with. Y'all had something in common at that time.
Whether it
You
was
know,
brokenness or not.
now some people think that two broke people can make a whole.
Right.
Stop that. That is where people make the biggest mistake, because then you have fractured children.
That part.
Because nobody was whole, and now the kids are fractured.
Absolutely.
Before they're shattered totally. And stop doing that. I'm tired of seeing that in our communities.
Yeah.
Stop putting these horror stories together and think you're going to get a happy ending. Stop it. Somebody got to pull somebody up.
Right.
But the reason why people stay in these type of relationships, because it's comfortability. I'm okay. Maybe I can't be with that person because they got a college degree and their lives is together and mine ain't together. So let me just now stick to where I'm comfortable. So that's why you stay down here. Instead of saying, you know what, I want a woman like this. Let me build myself up.
Right.
Let me get myself together.
Man in the mirror.
So I can have a woman that's because I tell men, a woman is a reflection of you. They don't understand, because they don't read the Bible. So they don't understand that your woman, when you see out there, that's you.
That is you.
It's not, that's you. We put it like this: when you see a man out there, he's not a reflection of us, but she's a reflection of you, because that's who's going to raise your children.
Absolutely.
And if you take a good look and stand back, do you want your daughter to be like that?
Right.
Or do you want your son to be with a woman like that? So when we have to slow down, and that's a lot what I'm dealing with. In the Hempstead community, a lot of broken homes.
Yeah, absolutely.
From broken people. And it's also generational curses.
Absolutely. That part.
So now when we start peeling back the layers and talking about what's happening in Hempstead, the politicians, they can't help. They broken too. They from the same community. That's what's happening in Hempstead, because the broken people now got leadership positions. The broken people are now clergy. The broken people are the police officers.
Let me ask some more questions.
She said,
because, I don't. No hablo inglés, honey. No hablo inglés. We need help out here.
Oh yeah.
Woo. Okay. So you have the workbook coming out. Anything else connected to that?
Well, just with that, the training, I want to do the DIYs. I did a lot of speaking, like you see, the speaking engagements. I'll be doing more of those. Selective though, very selective.
Got that part.
I'm not gonna, and I'll be honest with you, where I'm at with it now is like, if it doesn't align with my being, I don't care if you're paying me, I'm not gonna do it.
No, that's right. Boundaries and saying no.
And saying no if it doesn't align.
Power.
Because I don't have the energy, and I said this morning, I don't have the energy to fight with nobody.
Right.
Because we gotta fight for those who don't have a voice, they don't have the energy.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I see for myself, like, is just the workbook, more speaking engagements, and then we're getting ready to take it out of state.
Okay.
So that's important to me too. To with the women's project, I'm gonna still, because we filmed last year, so this summer we'll be doing an art exhibit. I tried to do it out here in Hempstead.
You talking about the African American Museum or another space?
Well, I'll let you say that. But it was over their head. It was too advanced.
Okay.
And what happened is I did these events and big exhibits in the city with no problem. But out here they wasn't understanding the need of it. Well, you have so many broken sisters out here.
Yes.
In big organizations. And that's where, they look at me, and I'll tell you, they look at me like, where she come from? Who's she at? What, they're trying to understand me.
How does the popularity thing that is hurting this town, I feel. If you're popular, you can take a certain position, even if you know nothing about the position, just to say you had the position. If you're popular, you will get the support, because, and I'm learning. I'm absolutely learning. I've realized I've connected with more people from out east than here, because we have a common thing. We want to do the work. So you got to work with what you have.
Out east, in the city, the Barrows is always open. I did Kathy Hochul's Lunch and Learns. be out in the city this week, the
Mhm.
end of the week. I don't know what it is out here.
Right.
It is some sisters that I have connected with from the community, but I don't know. She actually no, she just does work out here. There's a couple people, but it's very few.
Okay. Okay. All right. So heading out of state, but we'll continue to do the work here. And when I say
Okay.
here, I mean in New York.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean in New York. All right. So you said you're engaged.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. You
Yeah.
have daughters, right?
Yes. I have two daughters. I have actually three sons and two daughters.
Oh,
They're
you have
grown.
three sons.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what is that like?
Um.
Engaged, have children?
They
Because your children must see mom like my mother's dope. Like,
well, they're grown now.
right.
They're grown. There's only one at home,
Okay.
and then she's working two jobs and school,
Hmm.
and I'm their mama, so my foot be on their
Yeah.
neck. But I don't have to do it that much because they've been hearing it. They
Hmm.
understand what how hard I've worked for them.
Hmm.
Um, and it's good to see. One of my daughters one was working, but the other one was doing the vision board.
Okay.
And I just want something for them because I tell you, you gotta take care of yours first.
Absolutely.
If you can't
Absolutely.
save your family, what are
Hmm.
we doing here?
Hmm. That part right there. So, work becoming, making strides to be out of state. Leave us with something connected to not just cultivating lives, but who you are as an individual. And also, let the people know if they have an issue. Because so many people came to mind while you're talking. Because, I work in jail. So being in that position, it's a little tricky because I know some people play games, and I know there's some that I'm like, I wish they had a LaLa. Does that make any sense?
Right.
So, leave us with something connected to, the organization, and of course, give the information where people can reach out to you.
One of the things, and I just want to tap on really quick that you said is because my financial literacy program is in different jails
Okay.
and not just in New York, around the United States.
Okay.
So I
So
was
you do
able
it
to.
virtually.
I do it through email.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I teach the lesson that way, and they're able to ask a question back
Okay.
related to the topic,
Gotcha.
and it's been successful. I believe in being proactive,
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
reactive all
Mm-hmm.
the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're living in an age of reaction. But what if we have more proactive agents out
Mm-hmm.
there?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I want to create more leadership. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do this forever.
Right. Right.
I'm gonna
Right.
be honest with you. I want to create leaders to come in and say, okay, I could sit back and have them do the work because now we could spread it out
Right.
throughout the world.
Love that. Love that.
Um, right now it's about growth, it's about development,
Mm-hmm.
it's about, and I teach financial literacy because one thing I know, when we have poverty, we get headaches, we get that creates mental health. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not eating
Mm-hmm.
properly, it could create bad health. The nucleus of having being financial secure, it alleviates a lot of problems because
Mm-hmm.
now you ain't gonna be eating this bad food all
Right.
the time because you can afford
Yeah.
the whole food in the Trader Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
you know, Food stamps keep you. They say, oh, you can do the food stamps to go food shopping. When you're focusing so hard on budgeting, you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to buy.
Right. That was
Sus-
good.
Sustainability
Mm-hmm.
for our people, housing, being able to eat and raise our kids properly. We have to have more leaders in
Right.
our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I could say, and you know, Hempstead's a little different, like Freeport is an
Mm-hmm.
incorporated village and Hempstead is a village, but we need more leaders out here
Yeah.
and people to lead and not be scared and not to
Mm-hmm.
be silenced
Mm-hmm.
because you want to lead.
Mm-hmm.
We need more funding and support
Yes.
and aid for individuals who want to do the work.
Right.
They can't. I know so many organizations doing out of pocket and this and that.
Yeah.
I went to an event down in by Walt Whitman Mall, and a woman raised for animal rescue $250,000. Listen, cash private donation, but we can't help our kids here in Hempstead.
Woo! There's
They
something
did it,
wrong.
so we gotta
That
be.
is different.
We
Like,
have to
wow.
talk about these things.
Yeah.
So we're cultivating lives. We're here. You can follow us on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
cultivating lives underscore nonprofit. You can call us 212-220-9881. If it's an emergency, 516-499-2800. Um, our website, cultivating lives 2020.org. Um, and just start, let's have that conversation.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's really about for me.
I love that. I love that. Miss Lashawn LaLa Lukes, everybody. This is why
Thank you.
she is my SHERO.
Thank
Listen,
you.
I'm so excited for you. Please continue to do the work your way. I
Yes.
just feel I can't explain what I'm feeling because I know that God makes no mistakes and that it is a divine connection while we are connected because that event was years ago. I'll tell her about it after we finish because she might not remember it. But thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you so
definitely. Thank
much.
you for having
Yeah,
me. I
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Listen, guys, make sure you check out her website. She's left you with 2 different numbers. Continue to pray for her as well. This is real work. Like being hands-on, dealing with families it's a big deal. That's not something that you want to take lightly. So if you feel a nudge on your spirit, excuse me, feeling a nudge on your spirit about maybe a family that may need help outside of maybe you giving your advice or whatever the case may be, reach out to LaLa. Please, sir. Please, ma'am. Don't hesitate. Once again, thank you again, Miss LaLa.
Thank
Make sure you
you.
guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, Hot Mike with Lady She podcast. You can also follow me on social media as well. I am Lady She. I am Hot Mike with Lady She _podcast, and I am Hot Mike with Lady She on Facebook. Also, if you I wore one of these shirts. I forgot what shirt I made this morning for myself, but I felt that it was fitting a few names on here.
I like
If you're
that.
looking for some apparel to be made, you can visit She's Got Tees as well on social media as well. Let's continue to be the light and be the salt of this earth. Let's continue to love on one another. Let's continue to hear each other, and that's how we get the work done. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Once again, Ms. LaLa, thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
coming. And check out the rest of She Is My SHERO series. We have some amazing, dope women for this Women's History Month 2023. And see y'all later. Bye.